poppin' be? Purbuck here, and welcome back to another episode of Race the Ramen, the show where I attempt to review something unscripted in the amount of time it takes to boil an instant ramen. And today we'll be taking a look at Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore. Available now on PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and Windows. Cool, huh? Alright, we're going to start the timer right now. Okay, so, Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore. And yes, your eyes don't deceive you, this is a video game review. Remember when I talked about video games? Neither do I. Anyway, Jesus. Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore, is a newly released action-adventure platformer game, sort of a Metroidvania light, developed largely by a developer who goes by Dopply, who is the prominent figure making up the team known as CDi software behind this project. And if that name sounds familiar, and if any of the visuals I am showing on screen seem familiar to you, that's probably because you are familiar with the infamous Legend of Zelda CDi games. The Zelda games that were made by developers outside of Nintendo during a rare period in which they actually licensed their properties out to other people. Long story short, they had a short time to make these Zelda games in short time, very low budget, very little experience, and they ended up bad. Obviously, that's their legacy now. But over time, while they have definitely been looked back on and still seen as not fun or really that good to play, they have their charm and their personality, and given the circumstances that the developers had to work with, they could have turned out worse. And some people have come to have a certain fondness, both ironically and somewhat unironically, for the Zelda CDi games. And thus, Arzette was born. Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore, is a spiritual successor to the Zelda CDi games, the games commonly referred to as the worst entries in the Zelda series, that Nintendo refuses to acknowledge to this day. Why would someone do this? Well, because why throw the baby out with the bathwater, I guess. They had their attachment to the CDi games, and they had some sympathy for the people who worked on them, to the point that, in making this a love letter to those games, not a mockery, they went so far as to reach out to original artists and voice actors that worked on the Zelda CDi games, like Zelda and Link. Their actors are in this game, and there's all kinds of brand new YouTube poop fodder cutscenes animated by both the original artists and new artists, including Jimmy Davis, who I was very happy to see his name pop up in the credits. It'd be a shame if his talents replicating this style weren't put to good use. So thankfully they were. But honestly, I could ramble more and more about how this is a big joke game, about how it's like, haha, the CDi games were bad. And now you can play a version that's not actually Zelda and not horrible. And part of me wondered if this game was just going to be a shallow joke. And I was a little worried at first when I started playing. But it did not take long for this game to win me over. Completely, pretty much. I would honestly say that Arzette is a pretty solid game. For a first commercial release, it is a genuinely pretty solid Metroidvania, and it is easily the best way he could have polished this formula that was left behind by the side-scrolling Zelda CDi games, Faces of Evil and Wand of Gamelon, by which he is inspired, obviously. I mean, those were always very similar to the second Zelda game, Adventure of Link, and Nintendo never went back to that side-scrolling fashion, at least somewhat likely because of those CDi Zelda games. But there have been a number of games that have improved on that formula over the years, and Metroidvanias have definitely gotten bigger, and the lead designer saw a sort of Metroidvania likeness to the original Zelda CDi game, so in reforming these elements to make an original game, he's made something that's actually fun to play. It has a solid core gameplay loop of just fighting, exploring, finding new stuff to go back to places and like trade with people. It's fun to figure out a lot of the puzzles and look through cracks and crevices and nooks and crannies for secrets. I'll say that the navigation and overall gameplay is a little lopsided at the beginning when it's closest to the actual Zelda CDi games. You don't have a lot of tools to deal with what you're dealing with. On normal mode, there's no health pickups, and if you die, you have infinite lives, but you respawn at like the last checkpoint, which is usually the beginning of the screen. So you have to get used to a lot of these things. But once you like get into the groove of it, Arzette is really fun to play and really charming. It surpasses the originals, obviously, but makes something good out of a thing we made a joke of. Hopefully that gives you a decent impression of what I think of the game. I would say for a $20 downloadable title, while it is mostly something you'd play for the jokes, I mean, that's the thing that gets you in. Like the comedy and the style. If that's not your thing, I could see you not enjoying this. But if it is your thing and you're wondering, well, is the gameplay any good? Yes it is. I'd say that it's smooth and streamlined and just enjoyable enough that, I mean, you could probably enjoy this game without understanding all the inside jokes. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's directly homaging specific stuff from Zelda CDi, but really, with practically no passing understanding, and just knowing that this is a silly comedy game that's kind of supposed to look like an old CD-ROM game, you could play it and just have a good time, I think. The reception seems pretty positive, and I'm glad it's not just me. I could genuinely see myself replaying this game. It's conducive to speedrunning and has a cool, like, post-game play with your powers mode. And of course, the cutscenes and voice acting are just delicious icing on this funny little cake. And I would very much recommend Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore. I give this game a 7 out of 10. It could have been an 8 if it was just maybe a little bit longer and a little bit polished, a little more polished in specific areas. It's a really good first attempt, and again, could totally see myself playing this again, but it's only about a little under 5 hours long if you want to go to complete it. I beat the whole thing in about a day. It's short and sweet, mostly killer, no filler. So if that's your sort of thing, absolutely check this out. I mean, it's very funny, so if that's enough for you alone, then give this a look, because it's hella charming. And they managed to take like a hilarious derpy thing that we've all been like laughing at for years and make something earnest out of it. There's even a hint towards a sequel at the end, and if that's true, I'm down. I would happily play another Arzette game with this same presentation. Because as crude as it is, it's not bad. It's personable, it's charming. And I can remember a lot more about this game than a lot of other longer, more serious ones that look better. I'm just hoping that, if nothing else, I'm just hoping that this game finds its audience, because it deserves one. It's pretty good. More to the point, I'm hoping that these lovely new cutscenes lead to a new age of YouTube poop. Here, I will add to the pile. Here's some poop.
After 10 years of peace, the evil Dimer has returned.
Bitch, I hope the fuck you do. You'll be a dead son of a bitch, I tell you that.
Up to Princess Arzette to defeat him. No, Arzette must explore the kingdom.
Why would you do this?
Assist colorful characters.
Allow me to heal you.
No! No!
Normal words, but a horse guy.
This will be a journey you won't want to miss. Arzette, the Jewel of
Dinner.
Coming soon to your interactive multimedia system.